looking at the participant list. Can you see that?
For us, it is a poll which is coming to me, at least on the window.
Poll, and then you can see the slides behind, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Looking at, yeah, other stuff in the Zoom. Okay. Okay, to everyone who is currently in the room, good afternoon. We were just waiting for a few more people to join us. Meanwhile, please feel free to respond to the quick poll that you should see on your screen. Again, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. We're just waiting for a few more people to join. So feel free to respond to the poll that you see on your screens. We will share the results with you in a bit. For those who might be wondering if you're muted and what's going on, we are using the webinar function of Zoom. So yes, attendees are muted. If you have any questions for the panelists, there is a Q&A button that you should see either in the menu bar on the top or the bottom of your screen. So you can submit questions from there. We will have a Q&A section later in the discussion, and I will read out your questions and the speakers will respond to them. Okay, and just waiting, we'll give it probably another 2 to 3 minutes before we start, just for a few more people to join. Again, feel free to respond to the poll. We will share the responses, the results in a few minutes. Okay, so we're just gonna wait another 2 minutes and then we'll get started. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to BrioHR and Xoxoday's joint discussion on building a crisis-proof workforce. If you have not already responded to the poll in front of you on your screen, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, yeah, we will be sharing the results in a bit. Priya, I think you can take the poll down now. Priya, you can take the poll down. Great. Okay. All right, fantastic. So first up, let me introduce one of our speakers today. His name is Benjamin, and he is the co-founder and CEO of BrioHR. Ben is formerly of McKinsey and the former head of Lazada, one of the biggest e-commerce platforms in this part of the world, former head of Lazada's strategy department. So he has co-founded and he is leading BrioHR together with another INSEAD alumni in the hopes of transforming workplace stories for people around the globe. So Ben will be one of our speakers today. Very exciting. Next up, we have Abhimanyu, founding member and chief business officer of Xoxoday. He has 12 years of experience as a B2B sales leader and is responsible for producing revenue results that have exceeded expectations around the world. Xoxoday is a software platform that helps organizations build an engaged and happy workforce. So they have various modules such as Ample, which solves business critical challenges related to reducing employee turnover, attrition, and improving productivity. Plum simplifies digital rewards, and Compass helps increase revenue. Oh, sorry, I think I forgot to mention that Ben as co-founder of BrioHR, I'm so sorry, people. Ben is co-founder of BrioHR. What does BrioHR do? Right, so for those who are unfamiliar, BrioHR is an all-in-one, affordable, simple, and very, very easy to use HR management software that covers the employee journey end to end. So from recruitment to onboarding, leaves, performance, payroll, employee files, and the like. Right, please excuse me for that step. All right, so about our topic, building a crisis-proof workforce. Well, everyone's talking about it. You can see on screen right now just some sample research reports being published by many household names like PwC, the World Economic Forum, McKinsey and Company. And a quick Google search will probably pull out a lot more, like from the likes of Ernst & Young, Deloitte, Zurich. So one of the biggest considerations ever since the start of the pandemic, where borders have shut down, has been obviously, other than the very tragic losses of life and people being laid off, has been how companies can come out of this stronger. And many companies have found the need to reinvent or update their processes in the face of, firstly, everyone's being forced to work from home. I'm not sure how many of you are back in the office, whether restrictions have been eased where you are. For Ben and I in Malaysia, restrictions have been eased somewhat, but people are still being extremely cautious. So then we will explore further on in this discussion how companies can create crisis-proof teams now and into the future. All right, so Priya, if you could share the results of the poll. Priya? Okay, very interesting. So I'm not sure if everyone can see the results on your screens right now. So what we are seeing is, well, quite an interesting outcome. Ben, what do you think of the results?
That's first of all, hello everyone. I'm Ben. Nice to be with you today, and thanks a lot for joining us. The results of the poll, it's actually kind of funny how balanced they are actually, but at the same time, I'm not too surprised because in a way, definitely the COVID-19 related crisis and the uncertainty that is kind of arising from all this and still maybe in force as of today has pushed very hard and very fast for implementation of remote working and the processes implementation for resilience, fast adaptation, agility, and everything. So of course, I guess all companies in the world had to like almost 100% of the companies in the world had to somehow adapt. Having said that, the push was so sudden that I'm not too surprised to see that 30% of the respondents say that it's back to business as usual, for example, or that there is a bit of a balance, I would say, more because of imposed remote working and so on. And now back to those who are business as normal again. It's a huge push to really change the culture. It depends also on the industries impacted. Some are more or less agile traditionally than others, and so on. But it's also difficult to then sustain all those changes and so on. Sometimes you don't need to sustain them, so you might think that it's okay to get back to normal. Sometimes you actually do need to really push even further and even further because your employees have enjoyed basically the new arrangement, work arrangement, and so on. We've seen that in Brio. We have some employees who prefer very much working from home and so on. And it's an opportunity, I guess, for us to even change and go further to the flexibility that we were already offering to cater even more for personalities, personal preferences, as long as the job is done, of course, and as long as everyone remains happy. So it's I'm not too surprised. It's like if you want to lose weight very fast, usually it's not really recommended to make it sustainable. So I'm not that by the balancing of the.
Okay, awesome. And so very quickly before I move on to the next speaker, just a reminder to the attendees that if you have any questions, you can submit them by the Q&A button in the top or the bottom of your screen. And then we will get around to answering your questions later. All right. So Abhimanyu, Xoxoday has thousands of clients around the world. Have you noticed the same? That most of the companies are not just looking at flexible working arrangements, that they're changing processes and policies, or did they all go back to business as usual? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so thanks, Sasha, for putting up this question. Hi, everyone, and hi to Ben as well, and beautiful articulated Ben that that's a mixed bag which is happening, and people are diluted in, and so are the organization that what's need to be done, and that's a psyche which is having in the mind of people. So the normalcy cannot be attained in so fast manner. It will have its own time. It will take its own time. If I have to just touch upon the outcome of the poll which we conducted, I'm not surprised to see even the third one. The results or the percentage is phenomenal. That's at least a good sign for all of us that things are getting back to normal, and that's what each one of us is praying to. What I see in a span where close to 1,000 enterprises we serve and over 1.5 million users we have, and while interacting with a lot of HR leaders across the globe, people still are scared. Organization leaders, I would say, doesn't want that scary environment to still flow in. The challenges are towards the other side of the coin. The first, which I'm referring to, is towards the IT or a service industry, which still is able to sustain on an E model. What about, there's a question mark on organizations who are into manufacturing as a setup. People are not equipped to, because why? Because none of us ever thought that we would be experiencing this kind of a pandemic in our lifetime. So these are lifetime experiences, and all of us have experienced this and will continue to share the stories when we attain ages. So I would say that in today's time, collaboration would be a key for most of the organization, because more you collaborate, people are fragmented, working from different regions, different locations, and there is a no connect. So more you are able to collaborate, that is what would help them. Secondly is that how fast we can shift to a digitized world, because that's gonna stay, rest everything would get diluted. So faster the better. I would also want to touch upon one very important aspect, because what's happening, we are just changing the screen from the time we wake up. All of us, the routine is we keep changing the screens. Yeah, it could be starting from a mobile to a laptop, to a flat TV screen. So we are just changing the screen, and we don't have anything else in life. Believe you in me, in past 5-6 months, all of us have done all the Netflix series, but still we want people to talk. Still we want our buddies to be there, and that's where there's a very high need of creating wow Wednesdays, fun Fridays, where people are able to chit chat and enjoy that. So that's where I feel that collaboration would be a key, Sasha.
All right, cool. Yes, I completely agree with that. And the Fun Fridays part sounds really, really fun. Well, duh. So then, BrioHR has thousands of users worldwide in companies from various industries. So would you like to share some examples of perhaps how they've adapted, what the results have been for these companies? Bearing in mind client confidentiality obviously means you can't share too much so that we know who these companies are potentially, but is there anything you can share?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, actually, we've really seen a lot of interesting trends, I would say, emerging from the different clients and companies in general, company representative we talk to. And that's actually, first, what's very interesting, of course, is the willingness and the agility that everyone shown, in fact, during this crisis. So you don't have much choice but to adapt. Still, it doesn't make it easy. So a lot of our clients across different industries, and we have clients who are from, I would say, more traditional industries versus some clients who are more on the startup scene and so on. And we have been very impressed to see really everyone putting in the efforts and taking very, very fast actions in order to cope with the crisis. So what we've seen, for instance, is three types of big resilience having been built up even more, reinforced in the different organizations. For instance, revenue resilience. So how do you manage, I would say, basically the client side, the sales side, and the revenue side of your business. And definitely there has been a lot of questioning we've seen in the discussions we had, a lot of questioning about, again, who again are our clients. It even comes before that. What again are our values? What are we really trying to deliver to our clients, to the society, to the world, basically. So it was also while you were switching from screen to screen, as Abhimanyu mentioned, which is clearly true. It was also a good time to reflect. Every time the screen was black, I guess we would see our own reflection, and maybe that was the opportunity to do so. So I guess maybe that's what pushed companies to really reassess why they were there. And when I say companies, I'm talking about people, right? A company is made of people, and people is by far the main cement and the main medium for the companies to exist. So it's about, why am I even here? Why am I even doing this job? Why am I even talking to those clients and so on? So revenue resilience in terms of building processes and reviewing, again, how to really fulfill the needs of your clients and accomplish the mission that you were initially set out to accomplish. The second one is, of course, financial resilience. So, of course, it's not probably coming as a surprise, but a lot of companies took a lot of measures and deep dived on how to increase efficiency in terms of cost savings, in terms of some here and there. Sometimes, of course, difficult decisions taken, but maybe sometimes, or hopefully most of the time, required for the business to justify them. But also even just optimization. You know, we tend when everything is going well, we tend all to maybe get a bit lenient on more things. Whereas we could really see that there was questioning about literally cash flows, spending, cutting some unnecessary expense, the subscription that you don't use since 6 months or maybe even 2 years, but is running every month, but you don't even think about it. So we've seen a lot of course, financial resilience and a lot of financial resilience awareness in companies. And finally, organizational resilience. The processes everywhere in the organization, the communication has evolved as well, especially with the need to be remote and everything. So all at the same time. That's in fact the impressive thing. In fact, if I may close on this, it's the most impressive thing is that everywhere it had to change at the same time. And I think that in the end, it really created a team mindset that hopefully is here to last in companies. Like, we are in it together. No matter what is my role, I contribute to making my company and my colleagues and my clients all well after this bad time that we are all going through.
All right. Well, that sounds fantastic. And yes, we completely agree. Communications, collaboration, transparency, all the way to go now and into the future. So Abhimanyu, Xoxoday's Plum is a rewards and benefits program for employees, customers, all stakeholders throughout an organization. Have you noticed companies actively increasing Plum usage to, reward and incentivize and engage all their stakeholders since the pandemic started? Or have you noticed more, like, going back to Ben's point about financial resilience? Do companies believe, no, we shouldn't really be doing this right now, but maybe in future? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So one is in today's pandemic time or unprecedented time, I would phrase it. One cannot emphasize, I would say, cannot overemphasize the need of instant gratification in a time of what we call it as a social distancing. And in today's time, even though Ben touched upon financial resilience, but it's very much required to keep us alive and afloat. And our people, which Ben again touched upon, our people are the I would say the crux of the entire story. They are the one who are pivoting the entire journey of us. And if I have to categorically say, I would say yes. Since the pandemic, organization have actively started evaluating engagement tools. The reason being because earlier we were doing a lot of stuff, and that used to cost you a lot. So by that I mean that why this is coming, because in today's time, cost is one factor which we need to take care of. Then there are fragmented solution. There is an average user experience, lack of insights, data. All this is required in today's time, again, because you are at a distance. And what Plum in particular help employees or the users to do, it's a unified solution for any kind of a promotion, rewards, incentive, benefits, loyalty. So any kind of luring you want to do for your people, this become a one-stop solution for you. So I would keep it short and crisp onto that.
All right, cool. So, to your point about data as well, and I am aware that Xoxoday has a product called Impulse where you can run employee NPS surveys, but BrioHR also has a reporting analytics function. So, my question, sorry, Ben, but my question would be going to Abhimanyu first. Do you see more companies running these surveys, like to identify how their employees are feeling right now? Or, and if they are, what have been the results so far before the pandemic, during the pandemic, which is now?
So, Sasha, let me rephrase it. Impulse is a holistic employee engagement platform. It's just not about one particular set of aspiration or one set of problem statement that we are trying to solve it. We solve it in a very, very holistic manner. That's what we term as an employee engagement. What we generally help is, and what how engagement surveys would help you out. You would have come across a lot of organization into a consumer space running NPS scores. So that is Net Promoter Score. So those are the set of organization that run NPS for their consumer. Uh, Impulse is a very, very strong engagement platform which help you to run an ENPS, Employee Net Promoter Score. What is that? It's nothing but you are able to measure it on a real-time engagement of your people with you, with your logo. The entire organization is able to map with the philosophy, the ideology that we have accepted in today's time. You have ready surveys which is need of an hour. You have templatized pieces which you could use as it is, which again touch upon a lot of learning part, wellness, how you can do onboarding in today's time, how you can do offboarding, etc. So all these becomes a single window for your employees to react to you. Lastly, I would say that that also empowers you to set up a cadence, questions, anonymity, and then audience are able to give you a real-time feedback. But that's I would say all. It's the pulse survey help you to get the real-time pulse. And on the same, I would also Shasha, I would take I would say the baton from you and ask when that since BrioHR is also one HR platform, which are your modules that have become popular for us. Surveys, engagement score are very, very popular in today's time because of the situation. What, as per you, is one important module that has gained some value position in today's time? Sorry, Sasha, I took that baton from you.
No problem. It's
Yeah.
a discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we've seen definitely. So it's a trend that was already there because I guess a lot of companies want to put more, I would say, collaborative tools to monitor performance mainly. So it's not necessarily, it's not only to measure and track, but it's also to just make sure that everyone kind of knows what he or she has to do, and to allow also managers to interact and to see the progress on the specific objectives, on specific OKR, KPIs, give feedback in real time and so on. And I'd say the module definitely of performance management has been something that really I've seen a huge traction, and it's really linked with the times I think we face, right? It's remote, so you need to more and more be clear about what you expect from your teammates and so on, and at the same time you need to be clear about what is expecting from you. So that's really what we set on helping doing, and we clearly have seen a lot of companies, more and more companies actually embracing it. Then of course even the simple things such as payroll and leaves and so on is extremely important for companies. Some companies who used to manage it, for example, manually or through Excel and so on. I think there was even in Malaysia, there was a special government approval for HR managers who had to go back to the office to process payroll, during the confinement. So I think for not the same reasons, even those more HR admin modules have been very popular as well, I guess.
All right, cool. Thanks for sharing. So panelists, if you have any questions for each other, feel free to go at it. Meanwhile, I am just going to ping Abhimanyu right now. So, earlier you were talking about Impulse, right? And about how it's a holistic employee engagement platform. Now, Ben mentioned that performance management, making sure objectives are aligned, are important, tracking, how well employees and, by extension, how well the organization is doing. So That's what BrioHR is doing. So when it comes to Xoxoday and Impulse, right? How is Impulse, like something like Impulse, for example, helping to build a more crisis-proof workforce?
So for sure, Sasha, so I would again re-emphasize that in today's current global crisis, it's unlike any one of us have faced in our lifetimes. So I re-quoted it, and the reason being because in today's time, leaders within families, businesses, and communities are facing some of the most challenging moments of their lives, and yet inspiring stories continue to emerge daily. We see that none of us was prepared for it, and we don't have a concrete solution or an answer to this problem statement. It's in the journey everyone is learning. So I would say that a few of the focus area for getting a crisis proof workforce is, again, empowered to be productive today while strengthening businesses resilience strategy. By that I mean that crisis communication is the key. We should be loud and clear to our people that what is going around. We should not bluff around, because they are the key stakeholders and they want to participate in this journey along with us. So it's our duty as leaders to share what is the financial status, what is the how the organization envisages in for next 3 to 6 months. It should be crystal clear. Second is, I would say that with all that transparency, still keep your workforce engaged, because if they are motivated and engaged, they will make laurel for you. Uh, Thirdly is, in today's time, what we used to do earlier, we used to train people. Can we do and replicate the same through virtual skilling? Can we upskill our people? What best can be done in today's time? And lastly, I would say that adopting the new normal and optimizing the workforce could be the key in today's crisis proof workforce can be.
Couldn't agree more. Ben, do you have anything to add to that specifically? Because earlier when you talked about performance management, you were talking about competencies, I recall, objectives, results. So to Abhimanyu's point about reskilling, upskilling workforces, is the reason why the performance management module of BrioHR is so popular now also partly because companies are perhaps streamlining competencies, are perhaps looking at updating job scopes, skills required? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, for sure, and that's really this, and the way we usually help and support our clients is really to allow them to digitize the way they want to digitize, meaning that with all the elements of performance management, but do it their way in a more digital way, and then allowing them to basically progress and optimize and leverage all the different aspects of the BrioHR platform. For instance, performance on a day-to-day could be kind of KPI based. What I've done today, what will I do today, what is the result today, and so on. But then, as you mentioned, there is also a huge importance of managing a competency framework, which will itself be aligned with maybe longer term jobs, maybe also some behavioral aspects and not only numerical results. There will be also an aspect that is also integrated of, again, collecting feedback on your team in order to really do holistic evaluation. So it's about really, okay, I, as a manager, have a view of my teammate, my employee performance, but I would be interested to have this and this and these colleagues also telling me if they have interacted with that person, what they think. So it's really like a 360 feedback on the people that I'm trying to assess. And usually what's important is that you kind of, you are able to guide also the feedback givers and so on. And the idea is that always, of course, it should be constructive and positive. Is what should I do more? What should I do less? What should I keep doing? And so on and so on. So literally, it's about packing it all in one single module, I would say, so that you can go as simple to as complex as you want with Brio, basically. So again, competency management, OKR, KPIs, 360 feedback. Of course, the traditional appraisal form as well, even the full appraisal process with self-appraisal, manager appraisal, HR calibration, all these actually holistic view of performance, helping you going two speeds, one day to day or month to month or quarter to quarter, if depending on what you want, and one longer term to really shape how will you become beyond achieving your results, a good future leader. How do we build together basically your career plan for the company to benefit from your progress and from your results. So it also includes even training. What is your training plan basically for this quarter, for this year, and so on. And all this together makes it a very rounded approach to performance.
All right. So question for both of you then. Since, you know, the pandemic has obviously upended the way we all do work, is it fair in a sense for, you know, companies or HR or even employees to request for a different way of being evaluated right now? So for example, where before, you know, there would be a lot of face-to-face communication, and then perhaps, you know, that the importance of, like, let's say communication skills wasn't ranked that highly beyond maybe presentation skills, closing business deals and things like that. So now potentially HR teams are adding in communication skills, how well you talk to people, especially because you're distant now. So you've got videos, you've got calls, you've got messages, emails. And then should, you know, HR be continuously measured on employee engagement scores throughout a company during this period of time, bearing in mind also that the situation just keeps changing. So would it be fair to them, would you say? Either one of you can answer.
Yeah, so I'll again touch upon from where Ben started, because how so beautiful your vehicle is, but you need fuel to get the engine started. And that's where financial stability comes in play. For any organization, it is a mandate to make sure that business is up and running. I would maybe be very honest in stating that for the entire organization, where a lot of departments who were a supporting arm to the main business should come as a business partner, wherein they should be also be evaluated that what's the kind of responsibilities they are opting for making sure that the business is up and running. So that's number one for me. Second, of course, engagement is a key, and in today's time, still you can't evaluate anyone on that. What's your attrition percentage? Because in today's time, organization at times are willing to have the attrition happening themselves. So that would I would not say be the key, but yes, to make sure that your key pillars, to identify your key people from the entire lot, and make sure that those bunch of people are with you and they stand by you when you need them, should be the key metrics to evaluate. But I'll still like to say that financial stability and engagement would be two for me at least. So Ben would add more on to that.
Yeah, no, I also agree with what you say, of course, and I'd say also back to Sasha's question is that I would not necessarily say that employees should demand being evaluated differently, but of course, still it's the responsibility of the leaders, of the HR, of the managers to listen and to stay alert on what would be the best way to help everyone go through this situation. So it includes evaluation, but again, I see evaluation and I see performance measurement more as a way to help people go from point A to point B, and not necessarily just to judge basically the competency and so on. So I really think indeed that, for example, today there are more and more online meetings, if not full-time 100% online meetings, of course, even though in some countries it has resumed a bit more hybrid, I would say. Definitely it sounds crazy, but how do you engage people where you would be, I don't know, used to maybe smile or I don't know, have a body language and so on. Definitely the skill set to engage people online and so on might be different. So yes, you might want to throw in some new criterias and some new ways to look at what are good skills to acquire. So it's not about do you do this well or bad, what would be good for you to acquire, and then how we can help you acquire that by setting some milestones and so on. So yes, definitely adapting the ways we see through it. And again, as Abhimanyu mentioned, it's extremely important to keep people engaged and have a bit of a survival mode as well, because it's easy for nobody. And it's beyond the evaluation. It's really making sure there is this connection that remains. For example, what we like a lot and what is important is to make sure that there is a minimum communication within the team. Like it doesn't have to be extremely formal. It doesn't have to be extremely regular between any two people, but it's important that there is no one isolated at a time where it's easy to be isolated on every aspect of life. So it's really important to maintain as much as possible this team and company spirit. It can take many forms. It just has to happen. And we love even also how we design BrioHR and so on for the performance management. For instance, we kind of nudge. We like, you will nudge people such to make sure that discussions will happen. And then the discussion itself can take many forms. But if it happens, it's already a huge part of the work that has been accomplished. So yeah, that's really for us what matters the most.
All right, great. So before we move into the Q&A portion, reminder to attendees to feel free to submit your questions via the Q&A buttons. You would see it on the top or the bottom of your screen. Last question, I will direct this to Abhimanyu first. Any other tips for companies wanting to crisis-proof their workforce? Any specific tools to recommend beyond Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Skype, and the usual Google Documents and stuff? Any other specific tools you would like to share?
I would say that though it depends on organization to organization, the kind of business they are into, but yes, in today's time, I would say that what Ben mentioned, that it has to be people need to be evaluated on that how much upskilling you have done, and in that sense, I would say that e-learning modules could be something like a Moodle, etc. There are a lot of e-learning solution which could be evaluated. And second, I would refer that health is the utmost important for each one of us, and that's where we pray and we want that our people to be safe, and that's where we should evaluate few of modules or platform into that. So Kaido is one well-being solution that's very good into that sector. So I would say these two.
All
right, Ben, any to add to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree again with what has been said, and I guess the key is about collaboration. So for sure, any tool that helps giving visibility on any aspect of the business, and every aspect of the business needs to be considered. Every single department, no matter what, should not be excluded from this analysis as to what works better when we share it, basically. So of course you have a lot of CRMs or cloud or cloud-based people engagement, client engagement, so not only employee engagement, but people engagement, tools like Sales Screen for the sales teams and so on. It's all about, before that, deciding what should be shared. It's really about collaboration. You cannot talk easily to someone. You have to schedule a call and so on if you're not in the same place. So it's important that there is more and more real time, and that you can bring back a bit spontaneity in the process, and again real-time information. So again, tools, there are a lot that are great. You mentioned all the classic ones that everyone has learned to use. You know, I remember the first webinar we organized during this confinement lockdown period. There was this story about someone who was transformed into a potato during the full webinar because there was an automated filter or something and she was turned into a potato. And in fact, my point here is to say, in fact, it's really about understanding what you need to share. Could be KPIs, could be on the sales, could be on anything. And second, that you learn how to use the tool beyond the tool itself, in fact. So that's what I would say.
All right, so tools and learning how to use them. Anything else that the two of you would like to add? Otherwise, we will be going to Q&A. I have had some people messaging some questions in. Any other suggestions, like, you know, companies ensuring that everyone has internet access, for example? Should the company pay for the internet access? Should they start rolling out laptops for everyone, buying everyone earphones, for example, with microphones? Any suggestions for our companies who are listening in?
Yes, yeah, please, Ben, please, you can.
It's okay, as you want, but feel free after. No, I was just gonna mention that, in fact, something that we see actually, something that we see and that we observe is that in some parts of the world, in some areas, it's like the crisis never happened, even though we are still right in it. And we see that, and most of the people we talk to, they have the same observation, meaning that for some reason it's never us. It's always the others who don't take care about what has really happened. We maybe not realize that we should still be careful and so on and so on. The truth is that I think we are all doing a bit of both, respecting rules, thinking about the future in light of what has just happened and so on. And at the same time, after 2, 3, 4 months, we start maybe all to be a bit tired about all those rules and so on. So I think what's extremely important is to make sure we are prepared for the next crisis. It doesn't mean being pessimistic. It means remaining agile. All the work that has been put into there to over the past few months to become agile and to be prepared, and all the pain that has been faced. So again, could be employee being isolated one, but or it could be a very vivid, very basic, very simple one, such as, okay, we didn't have any laptop in the company. We had to move on a 2 days notice, 250 people from the office to home with basically nothing ready, I would say, or remote working ready to handle this. So, but it was made possible, meaning that it happened. Those companies found solutions and so on. So it can be done. But then what's very important is, okay, keep building those muscles. Don't think that, yeah, it's okay, it's past us and the crisis is over. For me, my huge advice would be, again, I'm not saying buy laptops for everyone, but actually it's a very good example of what could be a possible agility thing, because at any point of time you can have the need to move place and so on. So that's an example, but yes, it could work. The most important, get ready to perform even during the next crisis, and hopefully it will never happen. It might never happen. We all also know that there is chances that at some point or another there will be one of any kind. So let's just be sure that we learned through this unique part of history that we just witnessed and are still witnessing. Just make sure we don't forget some lessons and really keep them in. Sorry, Abhimanyu, go ahead.
No, that's fine. So yeah. So Ben, you have covered it, and in the interest of time, I would skip this and we can take Q&A.
All right, cool. So do we have any questions from anyone in the audience? Or I will just keep reading from the list that is for some reason being privately messaged to me by some attendees. Guys, you could just use the button. Okay. Cool. So, all right. So one question that we're getting is about data. So Abhimanyu, you mentioned that you have ways of measuring how employees are feeling. Ben has also, I think earlier you touched upon the point that there's a lot of reporting and analytics built in. And then obviously Abhimanyu mentioned that measuring the attrition rate thing right now might not be the best idea, right? So when it comes to what we're facing right now, and with everything fluctuating constantly, how reliable do you think this data that companies are gathering via your tools are for future planning? Bearing in mind, yes, while you might see a dip, for example, in employee engagement scores with everyone isolated, for example, but then the company takes actions, or possibly people get used to it, right? To being remote, to being isolated. So then the scores kind of tend to go up. But it's not that HR did something spectacular. It's just that people just got used to things. And then something else happens in future, and then you know, how reliable is it to point at the data now and say, hey, but it worked last time, whatever it is you did. So thoughts from either of you?
Yeah, so I would say that data is the only source of truth for anything and everything we do in life. So whether it was a past or whether it will be a future, data speaks in itself. But what is more important for us is that to understand that in today's time the generation is changing. It's not a baby boomers category who would settle down in the situation. Today's young brigade, all generation YZ, they are very upfront in stating. So if they are not feeling good and if they are not engaged, they would be very upfront in stating that, hey, HR, hey, my folk, hey, my friend, you have done nothing for us. Thank you. And they'll make sure that the engagement score comes down, because that would be a realistic engagement score. So and why data would also help in future, no one predicted that this pandemic will hit us. And so what Ben touched upon, so each one of us is not aware what would happen in future. So it's better that we get versed to it, we get prepared for what will happen in might happen in future, and therein the data again would be the source of truth, because the data will give you a predictive analysis that these were the few 3 4 2 1 thing which created or which was a cause of worry, and we did ABC to cure them. So now that becomes in the eyes of the law, anything which is a prejudice or any of the decision which has come in, it becomes a reference point for the future similar kind of prediction. So similar way data becomes a prejudice, or it will, I would say, a note to us to take care if similar thing happens in future.
Fair point. Ben, anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, first it reminds me a saying when I was a consultant with McKinsey, and I think it's a bit also aligned with what Abhimanyu said at the beginning, but it's basically in God we trust, everyone else bring data. and basically, so that still highlights the importance of measuring, but of course measuring only makes sense if the data is used, meaning analyzed, but also used to adjust the behaviors, the actions taken, and so on and so on. So definitely it's very important to make sure that you can correlate basically actions with the data, the trends. So that you can adjust course. The idea is, again, with data, not to only judge, but is really to take proper action. If this worked, if this didn't work, if people are less engaged, probably something was missing, and it might not be about pointing fingers. It might be just about filling the gap that was here. So yeah, no, data is extremely important. Know who is in your company in order for you to also bring the relevant response, the relevant actions, the relevant measures. So yeah, definitely very important to have data, but to use it for the right purpose.
Okay. Well, another question would be about job scopes. So we've seen some talk online about, suggestions to maybe make job scopes more flexible, less rigid, less like, because a lot of job scopes were built for, a pre-pandemic era, right? So should companies be looking at changing job scopes, having fluid job scopes, which focus purely on specific skills, but less so on your position is this in this department? Every day, for example, you will clock in at this time, you will clock out at that time, you will produce 100 pieces of report, a month, that kind of thing. So thoughts, gentlemen?
To me, on for example your department example and so on, I still believe it's important to have some kind of structure, especially when it's remote. So it's not a structure that is a hardcore structure, too detailed, too bureaucratic, too politic, and so on. It's really not about that. But still, it's kind of important still to have a north star. Kind of you kind of know where you are and where you're supposed to go. Having said that, the agility in terms of job scope was necessary way before this crisis, and was, I think, one of the right way to go way before this crisis. What happens with this crisis, where a lot of companies had to reorganize some of the things, the job scope was to be adapted just because of the very tangible constraints of working from home and so on and so on. Definitely, it's great to have an alignment between job scope and the skills and the means for the employees to accomplish their job. So yeah, structure will potentially remain, and I guess has to remain. And I don't really believe in a huge unstructured, totally fluid, 100% fluid in at least the short to mid term. But aligning job scope with skills and so on, for sure, I think it's also a symbol of agility.
Fair enough. Abhimanyu, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so Ben has covered most of it. I would say that it needs to be structured. The reason behind that, or else it becomes too much haywire. But on the contrary, I would say that there has to be some kind of a flexibility which needs to be given. Reason being, as entrepreneurs and as today's time would help us to reinvent ourselves, and abundance have never given birth to any kind of an innovation. It is scarcity which is the mother for any kind of an innovation. And if you give that kind of a flexibility, rather than just making them a robo, that hey, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and you have to do it tick 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 tick, and you have to finish it off, then it become a very robotic kind of a thing. So there has to be a mix and match wherein these are your roles and responsibilities and are very, very structured, on which, and these are the one where we would be evaluating in any kind of a new edition, in any kind of a discovery, any of the new ideas, aviation, so and so forth. So any of the things which can help organization to save some kind of a revenue through an automation, etc., etc. So there people start to think out of the box rather than just confining it to their normal routine job.
All right, good point. We have time for one more question, which is currently, I'm not sure if the other panelists can see this on the screen. So employee engagement activities is a bit difficult now during the pandemic because of social distancing. How do we run fun activities remotely? So would either of you like to share from personal experience in your companies or perhaps client experience?
I would like Ben to answer this, because that's a forte which at least I live in day in day out, and that's where to have a different perspective, I would first invite Ben to share, then I'll like to top it up.
Yeah, no, I mean it's true. Actually, it's true that it's difficult to manage. So the way we have not done a huge. We have not tried to force a bit too many, or done a huge of activities and so on online. So our experience is that we did some kind of I would say town halls, but not work related town halls. So that's something that at least makes sure that people can a bit talk about some things not work. So again, we had Edison, one of our colleagues, talking about his haircut and his love of hot pots. We had kids running around and jumping on the lap of their parents and so on. And my point is to say that the idea, in my opinion, is not necessarily to try to force the fun, or actually it's less of trying to force the fun than making sure that everyone can talk to and talk to their colleagues, remember their colleagues. Remember even by face, of course, and chat with their colleagues and so on in a light way. So I think it's half an hour or 1 hour is a great time investment to just talk randomly about, hey, okay, we cannot go out, but we all got food delivered yesterday. What was yours, and what is your tip for next time? Should I try this? Whatever that is that you want to speak about. Then beyond our company, I've seen so many things online, so many activities that people do. Like some companies I've seen, they had a morning coffee. So morning coffee, literally for 15 minutes, everyone will come in. So it could be a tea, it could be a hot chocolate, it could be anything you like, of course. But everyone would just log in on a call and basically just be there and chat and so on. And they would even do so at different times of the day. So again, it's not necessarily about forcing the fun, but it's about this. Again, when it comes to fun, there are so many activities. So what I've done a lot personally, so more with friends and family and so on, but which is very, very applicable for work, and I've seen that happen, is quiz. Like not work quiz, of course, but any kind of quiz. And it's actually extremely funny. The moderator, usually, because you might have to choose one, it's a bit more tricky for that person. And it's not about necessarily using amazing tools and so on. It can be done with the great tools that are done for it, but it can also be done live like this. And then you have a moderator saying, hey, you answered first. And of course, most of the time, there will be connection problems, so you will be pissed off because you were sure you were first, didn't hear you, whatever. That's what makes the fun, actually. So I guess there are ways to do, and the idea again is not necessarily to do company-wide, depending on the size of your company, but just making sure again that people in small groups and so on, at least that no single person is isolated, before making sure that there is a huge fun, actually. So sorry, a bit long, but Abhi, you can now.
Yeah. No, so Ben, you covered most of it, but I would say that engagement is again a very broader term, which most of us are not able to interpret. By that I mean that as an employee of an organization, I see a lot of things which makes me engaged. It cannot be just a fun activity. It cannot just be doing some of the group activities. It is beyond. By that I mean that am I financially stable to the organization I am working for? Is my organization leaders are capable enough to envisage and to see the future, to see that how my organization would shape it up, or it will shut it down? I don't know. Is my organization doing something wherein I want to turn on and turn off some of the operation? Is any product will survive, or are we in a mood to sundown few of the product features? uh, these are over and above what been mentioned. So it's a composite. And in terms of any kind of a fun activity, engagement activity, we have to innovate. So have you ever thought of a national watermelon day? Have you ever heard of? You might not have heard of. What about celebrating National Watermelon Day? So you need to create those buds. What about celebrating Poets Day and get your inner self and say that, hey, how many of you had been a poet or poetess in your heydays, or in your young days, or when you were a kid, or when you broke with someone in relationship, etc., etc., and you became a poet? Would you like to share some of your stories around? Now this is what you could call it as a fun, which makes it very, very fun, actual fun for your people. And in the journey, you would be surprised that you would be able to get some hidden attributes of yours, some hidden talent of yours, which comes out which neither you were knowing nor your employer was knowing. So these are the few things which I think would be meaningful in today's time.
All right, fantastic. So speakers, do you have anything else to add? Because we've kind of run over time. Sorry. So anything else to add?
Yeah, so for me, at least, before we pass in on the closing remarks, by Ben, for me, I would say that this is a lifetime opportunity for us even to see this kind of a pandemic. Generations never saw that, and might be generation coming might not see such pandemic. It's and these situations, these tough time always make you learn a lot of it, and you gain, maybe in a span of 6 months you might be able to gain an experience which you would have got it in working for 6 years. So this is a time of being positive, to stay positive, upskill yourself, because a lot of things will get obsolete. And that would not be a surprise if we are there to match up the frequency of today's time. Believe you in me, the time will still come and we would say, hey, this is a time which I wanted to live in. But if we say, and if we start cribbing that, hey, what has come in, we have lost the jobs, etc., then it's a time you would find that a lot of people would be in distress and might be taking some negative steps. So it's a time to be positive, get your energy intact, and just be cheerful and get that energy rub to most of the people in a digital format, I would say.
Okay, thank you, Abhimanyu. Ben, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think Abhimanyu said it all. I agree that despite the challenges and the hardship that this has brought, we have to deal with it. There is no choice. So it's very important to learn from it, keep learning from it, be positive, because there is no better way than being positive and optimistic, whatever happens. So no, I completely agree with what Abhimanyu said. And then I would just say, maybe to close, and again, or to close at least on my side, but I don't want to make everyone late. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining before. And what I would emphasize is that I'm very keen always on discussing, on learning what are your tips as well. It's not only about Abhimanyu, Sasha, myself, everyone in the audience here in this webinar has probably some useful tips, some things that worked, some things that didn't work, and so on. And it's really both ways. We feed at BrioHR on feedback, we feed on discussion, and therefore we just be very happy for hearing anything that you have. So reach out to us. My email, benjamin.croc@briohr.com. Reach out, no formalities. Just if you have more questions, if you have opinions, if you have anything, comments, just reach out and let's have a good chat. Probably online and maybe not. Let's see, depending on what we are allowed to do.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much, Ben, Abhimanyu. Thank you everyone for attending. The recording of the webinar will be put up online. You can check on the website for it. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Sasha. Bye-bye.